shine like a steel sieve.
When will the soccer tournament begin again? Because that was good for its onset. Now we need to get a league going and state leagues, and let's take this to a whole new level. Dave is the ambassador of the new EXP Soccer League. He is the commissioner.
Soccer league.
He said, "Mike, come on." He said,
I don't know, Mike. I don't know. I like soccer, but if we get a lacrosse league going out here, I'm in. Barbara Jean, I need a lacrosse field out here. We need to get some lacrosse sticks and helmets on everybody. We can get some full contact out there on the field.
I got it on the list, Dave.
All right, I love it.
Soccer's not a real sport. Fine.
Yeah, I was going to say, Barbara Jean, if you're going to do something, make something for football.
Well, we're an international organization, and football is the #1 sport in the world, so we started there.
Hey, if you get cut from football, you got to have something to do, so.
Full contact soccer. How about rugby?
Right, thanks.
Let's do rugby.
Yeah, there you go. I'm off to the next one, guys. Enjoy ICONversations. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, Dave.
Hey, y'all, we'll get this started. My name's David Quantrell. I'm in Washington State. I'm an ICON agent in the Tacoma area, and glad y'all are here with us today. And loved hearing a little bit of trash talking, but go Seahawks. And so we'll just get started here. We'll jump right into it. I've got 3 great ICON agents that we're going to be talking with today: Jeff Dickinson, Jamie Parker, and Jeff. Make sure I'm saying this right. Arzonico, right?
That's it, Arzonico.
Okay, it's not that complicated, but I'm like, I just want to make sure there's not like, I mean, one time I tried to say someone's last name and I completely messed it up, but it looked right. But so looks like that's good then. And I'll use you guys' last names because we got 2 Jeffs on the stage, and we'll just kick it off with saying a little bit about ourselves, so you know a little bit of our background for some clout, and that you can listen to us from our knowledge of experience. And I've been in real estate 10 years, been with EXP for a year and a half, and I have a small team in Tacoma, Washington, well, Puyallup, Washington, but nobody really knows where that is except for Jeff Dickinson will. But let's get started with you, Jeff. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background in real estate and kind of what you do in production.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Glad to be here. Thanks, David. So I've been practicing for 36 years, and I've been with EXP for 2.5 years, so just qualifying for my 3rd year ICON, and excited to be with EXP. I had a long career with Remax, and tell you, I wake up every day saying Remax didn't do this for me, so EXP is what a great opportunity. I do typically between 50 and 70 transactions just myself. I don't have a team. Some days I wish I did, but so just really thrilled to be here with all you guys.
Okay, we'll move on to you, Jamie. Same question.
Hey, good afternoon or morning, everybody. Jamie Parker. I'm an ICON agent in Atlanta, Georgia. I was formerly with Keller Williams for 7 years prior to joining EXP. I've been with EXP, I guess, for about 2.5 years now, and sold 52 homes last year as a solo agent. It's me. I have a transaction coordinator, and I have a girl that does inputs my listings and any other kind of miscellaneous administrative tasks that need to get done. 52 homes last year. I have as a solo agent, I think I have 16 under contract right now. So it's been a crazy busy summer. We were just I've been an ICON for 1 year. Last year was my first year as ICON, and hit it, I think, last September. So I should be on track to actually hitting Icon sooner this year than I did last year. So that is where we're at.
Yeah, Jamie, with 16 under contract, you should be pretty close. So.
Yeah, I tapped out last month, so we should be, yeah, it should be even next, certainly by August. I can't imagine not hitting it. And then, prior to real estate, I was a school teacher for Gwinnett County and DeKalb County schools. And, outside of Atlanta for 17 years, I did music. I was a music teacher.
Very, very cool. And for those of you out there, maybe you're new to EXP or just kind of looking at EXP, I see a few people out there that are here on guest passes. Becoming an icon is cap and then do another 20 transactions. So that's why we're talking about 16 is pretty close. So let's go on to you, Jeff Arzonico. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, so I'm out in the Lake Norman area, just north of Charlotte, North Carolina. I run a team of 9 agents, been in real estate 6 years now, 2.5 with EXP. I was at a small boutique firm that ran pretty much the same structure that I'm running my team within, was able to just step out of that, come into EXP, kind of hit the ground running, building that. Personally, I'll do between 40 and 50 transactions every year. I did 46 last year. We, again, just kind of trying to keep our team in that, I'd say, 8 to 12 agent area. We're not trying to grow to be any kind of big, huge monster, but more just a very high producing team across the board where everyone has the ability to have some success.
Very good. Very good. Well, question I always like to ask people, especially when I'm talking to icon agents or producing agents with any company, is, what was your single greatest decision you've ever made in your real estate career? At EXP, I tend to see a little bit of biasness towards the same answer, but I think it's a good answer. It's my answer. But let's go ahead and let's go right back to you, Jeff Arzonico. What is the single greatest decision you've ever made in your real estate career?
So if we're going to leave, obviously, the jump to EXP aside, I started my career, as I said, about 6 years ago. It was August. I went and knocked on the door of the number one agent in town and said, "Hey, I want to come work for you." And he kind of said, "No, I don't take new agents." And I ended up talking my way in the door. He had nothing set up to teach a new agent how to be productive, how to sell homes. I had, in the kind of 6 to 8 weeks, I kind of sat around, learned from him, stole a lot of really good information, but had built a good relationship with a gentleman who was running a team here in the Lake Norman area. And he was trying to get me to come onto the team. I had a number of people who had said to me, "Don't do it. Don't go on a team. The splits are so bad. You'll never, make money. You won't build a name for yourself." And I just made a commitment that I went in there. I told the team owner day one that I was going to be the number one agent on his team year one, and I was going to eventually go start my own team. He jokes now, he's like, "Man, I remember laughing, going, that cocky kid just walked out the door." But I went in there and did everything I said I was going to do. And in doing that and doing it the right way, he helped me out and made the introduction to kind of how I got to EXP and the team that I have now started, copying and pasting his system. So I got to say that early on in your career, especially for those out there that are trying to figure out how to get going, there's a lot of ways to sell real estate, and I'm never going to be one that says you can only do it one way, because I've seen a ton of people have success in a lot of areas. But I'm a huge component on getting on a team and what you can learn. It's not just about the leads, it's about the teaching and the training, and a good team will provide way more than just leads to you out of the gate.
That's so good. I like that. I love our industry in that we can be there's so many different lanes you can get in our industry and excel at any of them. You just got to figure out what you're good at. So that's really a good testament to that. Kind of a follow-up question with that, Jeff. What was there any commitment that you had to that agent? I mean, it was a big move, man. Walk in and knock on his door and say, "Hey, I want to join your team, and he says no, and you made it happen. Was there a commitment? Did he say you had to be on the team for a certain amount of time, or was it open door the whole time?
No, so the gentleman that I kind of had gone and knocked on the door of he's an independent agent who has he has 3 buyer's agents that work underneath him, and he was pretty open that he just didn't have room on the buyer agent team. So he let me in. He kind of took me under his wing, like I said, for 4 to 6 weeks, and he was very open that he just didn't have an opportunity for a new agent. You know, he kind of gave me some tips and tricks to how he got started. He happens to be an agent from Australia who came to the States and has built a pretty successful business, but he also, he had built a franchise in Australia where he ran 3 different offices in 3 different cities. So he had a pretty good real estate story to tell as he was building his up. He didn't ask for any kind of commitment. Like I said, I built a relationship with another local gentleman who was just running the team for an owner. That's kind of how I got in there, and it was an equal. They were recruiting me to come do it. Once I got in there and saw what they had to offer, was excited about the opportunity to jump on and run with that. So
very cool. Well, let's move on to you, Jamie. Tell us about what was the best decision you've ever made in your real estate career. Are you there, Jamie? Okay, let's move on to Jeff Dickinson. And Jamie, type in the chat if you've got something going on with your mic or something. Jeff, tell us about your single greatest decision you've ever made in your career.
Mine was playing golf and landing the Boeing account. So my whole focus is client generation and generating clients at the workplace. That I recommend to all of you in the audience. There's so few agents generating clients at the workplace. It's such a rich environment for high quality client generation. You can't believe. It's my absolute secret to success.
That's awesome. Yeah, and landing that Boeing account, that's huge, especially you've been around a while. So if you've had that for quite some time, looks like
years.
Yeah, wow. So those of you that aren't in the Seattle area, Boeing, one of the largest companies in our area, until they started expanding out back in the 80s and 90s, it was pretty much everybody knew somebody that worked at Boeing, and it was you got 10 people in a room, 2 of them worked for Boeing. But now they've kind of expanded out and been able to move to other areas. But man, that's a great thing to have. Looks like I just got a message from Jamie. Looks like he's having some internet trouble, so when he gets back, we'll start talking to him again. But let's go right back to you, because with good decisions, we always have bad decisions, and the longer you've been in real estate, the more bad decisions you make. I think I don't like to dwell on them, but I think that when we can learn from them, that they can be really good things. So Jeff, let's say one. What was the worst decision you made in your career?
Mine is being a late adopter of working my database. And now I'm working my database and generating a ton of client referrals. And I was my excuse is that every week new clients from the workplace come into my world, and so I just overlooked my database, and shame on me. So that's my biggest epiphany there.
I ask these 2 questions a lot. With EXP, I said I normally get the same one for the single greatest decision, and for the worst, it tends to be that not working your database, your past clients and stuff like that. So those of you out here listening to us, definitely take that to heart. Work your database from day one. Whether you got 1 person in there or 1,000 people in there, stay in contact with them. Work your database. So let's go on to you, Jeff.
Hey, David, can I stop real quick? Jeff Dickinson, I'd love, give us Give us some tricks and tips. I think we all could do a better job of working our database. What are you doing? What are you seeing working? What are your past clients really, jumping on?
Yeah. We could go into that a little bit. For me, I was late to doing that. We are just been starting it over probably the last year or so, talking with our clients. I brought on a company to actually do a little bit of gifting to some clients and sending letters out. They do everything for me. I basically prep the letter, or we talk about a marketing material, and they send it out to the database. They make a few calls for me every month, or if we do events, client events. I don't know if you guys do those, but we've done some of those, and just watching people in your database, and they somewhat monitor it for me, where you just check their Facebook profile of them and see if they had any life events. So if somebody, say, has a baby, you send them like a onesie with maybe your team name or something like that. Or it doesn't even have to be that. It's just the act of the gift and gifting. And people really like that. That's some stuff we're doing. Are you doing anything, Jeff?
Yeah, so we're probably right there with you. About a year ago, we started to pick it up. We're working on, last year we did a baseball game, had 135 people show up to that. So that was, we thought, a success for year one. We've got a AAA, White Sox AAA affiliate here in Charlotte. This year we were set to do a Friday night of March Madness bowling event. We've got a bowling alley that's got a big VIP room, 6 private lanes, full bar. They were going to do a nice setup with, a bunch of finger foods. We'd had all the basketball games going. That obviously got canceled. Baseball game's been canceled. We're going to try to roll the bowling event out sometime in the fall, maybe tie it into some college football. And then we do a Donuts with Santa at the end of the year. This will be our 3rd year doing that. We've seen somewhere between 70 and 90 families come to that. That's kind of been our, it's the cheapest one we do and probably the best attendance we get. We have a Santa there. We've got a live photographer. She takes photos. We try to quick turnaround, have the pictures out to everybody within, that we do it a Saturday morning, try to have it to them by Monday morning. A good way to get in, 2-hour window. Everyone kind of staggers in how they come through. You don't have to wait in a huge line to get your picture with Santa, and great way to reconnect and kind of see everyone.
Well, that's a great idea. Jeff Dickinson, are you doing anything now? You were talking about that you kind of missed that. Are you doing anything now with keeping in contact with your sphere, your database, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I am. So a couple of things come to mind. One is sending out birthday cards. Who does that anymore? It's been a huge opportunity to send those out and then just follow up with a phone call. So what it does is it allows your database, I've got hundreds in mine, stagger the calls out based on their birthday. Then I figured a couple of years ago, I figured I was losing about $150,000 to primarily Redfin, which is our big discounter in our territory, right, David?
Yep.
And so I ended up getting a winery concept going. So I have all my clients on a 3-bottle-a-year wine club, whether they like it or not, and they really enjoy it. And it just adds great conversation. It's tangible, it's unique, and so those 2 things are really working for me.
Jeff, with that wine thing, did you approach the winery itself or the club or whatever distribution service you use? Did you approach them and get kind of services at a discounted rate because you're bulking it, or how did that look?
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. Yeah, and then have my own labels and just branded. It's just been a great opportunity. I get calls weekly. Hey, can I get another bottle? So just a lot of great interaction there. So it's been a good concept for me.
That's really good. Yeah, we do the birthday cards. We kind of have it automated, and they actually write the cards for us. That service I was talking about, and send them out the week or a few days before the birthdays come up. It's all automated. Do you do the cards yourself, Jeff?
I hired an assistant about 2 months ago to help me do those. But prior to that, yeah, I was doing them myself. It takes a little bit of time, a little personalized note in there. But now I do have a little bit of help.
Very good. Looks like Jamie's back with us. Are you up and running well, Jamie?
Yes, our internet for our neighborhood just crashed. I just talked to one of my clients who works from his house, and his internet crashed too.
Oh,
well, I'm on my hotspot, so it seems to be working okay now.
Okay, cool. Well, we were we went through a couple questions while you were gone, but what we're talking about right now is one of the things I ask a lot of clients or a lot of agents is the best decision you made, and then also the worst decision you made in your career. And it tends to, a lot of the worst decision tends to be the same thing, where people are saying, we didn't stay in contact with our database and didn't pass clients and stuff like that. Is that similar for you, Jamie?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, so from the worst decisions, I mean, your heart sinks when you have a client that you sold a house to and they use somebody else for their next transaction. And sometimes even when you've stayed in touch with them, I mean, this happened to me last year. I'd actually stayed in touch with the person. They still use another agent. So I mean, why I felt like I did a good job. So, I mean, really systemizing those systems and touching them as much as possible. I mean, that is still, I will self-admit from the stage, that's still one of my weaker spots is not, I think I need to do a much better job of systematizing how I keep in contact with people and staying in contact with people a lot better to get more of those referrals and stuff. So, yeah, I definitely would agree with that. The other, to answer your other question is kind of like the best decision I made in real estate. I had one of my good buddies who's a motivational speaker, and you may want to look him up, the Power Peace Project, Kit Cummings. He's a fantastic speaker. But he always says you go where you're invited. And so I was actually, maybe about 8 or 9 years ago, I was invited to meet with a RE/MAX agent. And she said she could help me with my real estate business. I didn't know her, but just saw looked like she had been successful, decided to sit down with her. And she actually showed me an idea how she was implementing like a travel thing into her real estate business. And so long story short, whatever she told me made sense to me. She ended up becoming my mentor. She was top 5% for RE/MAX nationwide. And had I not said yes to that meeting, and I not said yes to, hanging out with her and getting to know all the people she knew, I probably would have never come to EXP, because it is through that one meeting that I can trace everything. That one meeting that I decided to go to has definitely changed the course for my family, for our financial future. And yeah, here I am now at EXP, and it is I ended up coming to EXP through somebody I met indirectly through that one meeting with her. So, and she's actually with EXP now as well. She left RE/MAX. So, that is, I would just say if someone asks you to meet with them, obviously you do have to protect your time, but sometimes you don't know where these meetings are going to go. And it was a really random email. It wasn't even like a personal thing. It wasn't even a phone call. But, sometimes pay attention to some of the things that come across, because you never know when that's a sign that that's going to change the course and the trajectory of what you're doing.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, listening to people and hearing everyone's input, you can definitely always pick up one thing. No matter who you're talking to, who you're meeting with, you can always pick up one thing. And oh, my screen just went in standby. I thought I lost my whole computer there for a second. Sorry. My screen blinked off because I hadn't moved the mouse in a while. So let's move on to a couple other things. I mean, a lot of things I've heard, and first coming into real estate, you hear this term lead generation. You need to be, that was Keller Williams, but you need to be lead generating, and I never really wrap my head around what that was until I had people to lead generate with. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's go to you, Jeff Arzonico. What do you do daily to lead generate? And do you time block it? Like, tell us a little bit about anything you do with that.
So yeah, like I mentioned, I run a team of 9 agents, and we do provide leads for our agents. We are in an area that is growing like crazy. We are seeing a mad dash from the Northeast, the New Jerseys, New Yorks, Connecticut's, Michigan, Ohio's coming. California's becoming a real hot one. Just closed a California buyer yesterday. We sell probably 1 in 3 of our homes is someone moving in from outside the area. So we're very heavy online marketing. We do a lot of Zillow, a lot of different pay-per-click type marketing that is bringing in buyers. I do not hold my team as buyers agents. They have the ability to list and go out and generate listings on their own. But the majority of the leads we are going to provide them from the team standpoint are going to be buyer leads. When it comes to just how you work that time blocking is exactly what you said. You got to be persistent. You've got to be able to be interactive and in it all day, every day. Online leads are not easy to work. I try to give people that warning when they ask all the time. They say, well, you guys sell all these homes. I want to do it. If an online lead inquires and you say, hey, I can't do that, I have this planned already, they don't care. They're going to just call the next agent and click the button again until someone will meet them there. So that's why we try to keep our team set up the way we are. That way, if something does pop up, we're able to help each other. Someone you could potentially pass a lead to, knowing they'll pass one back to you again in the future. We talk a lot about as well, when you talk about your time blocking and really prospecting through these leads, is that it can't be the same time every day. I think that needs to be for any type of lead generation you're doing. I know there's a lot of people that say, well, at 8:30 every morning, I prospect. Well, that's great, but you've called the same person 4 days in a row and they haven't answered at 8:30. There's a reason for that. So we're big on, we block an 8:30 to 9:15 time block. We've got a noon to 1. We've got a 7:30 to 8:30 at night. And then we also have a 4:30 to 6 o'clock in the evening. Different days of the week, we're calling it different times. So we're just kind of working through all of that and what that looks like in order to prospect and bring our leads, into becoming clients.
Yeah, that's so good, Jeff. I'm a big fan of that too. Various times throughout the day. I always thought that was crazy, just for the same reason you did. Always being taught you should do it first thing from 9 to 11 or 8 to 10, and that's all you should do at the same time. Get it out of the way first thing. And I was always like, well, people work or people have the same schedule, so I like that you vary it. That's a great idea. Let's go to you, Jeff Dickinson. What are you currently doing to lead generate? And what does that look like in your daily routine?
Yeah, so I learned long ago. I used to develop resort communities in my prior life, and so I learned early on that we're really in the lead generation business. We're not in the real estate business. So I wake up every day with that focus in mind. And if we don't have someone to talk to and someone to show and sell homes to, we're out of business. Again, my main focus is, the biggest rabbit that I chase is my corporate affinity rabbit. And I go into small to medium-sized businesses, those with 50 to 1,000 employees. And I have a 1 in 1 transaction for every 100 employees that I represent. So if you guys want to go out in Icon, find 2,000 to 3,000 employees to represent at maybe a half a dozen companies in your market area, and on stage here too. So I lead generate, pretty consistently throughout the day, and then just sprinkle in my admin duties in between, but my focus is always on that rabbit. So
very good. Yeah, I've liked that niche, and I've seen people have a lot of success in that. I personally don't do it, but I've seen a lot of people do well with that corporate affinity type thing. let's go on to you, Jamie. What do you do to lead generate, and what does your day look like with that? And just tell us a little bit about it.
Gotcha. Well, I wake up. I'm not one of those who wakes up like at 5 o'clock in the morning. I know we got a lot of people that do that, but I wake up, typically around 8 o'clock. I will stay up late though. I'll stay up and stop. I will do sometimes administrative stuff till 10, 11 o'clock at night. At that time, or contracts or whatever. So when I wake up, I have my own personal time. I have my quiet time, read my Bible. Just kind of get my mind right for the day. And then from that point, I will check to see whether I need to, who I'm going to call today, whether KV Core, what 10 people KV Core says I'm supposed to speak to today, or if any things have come in overnight via different lead sources, different platforms, whether it's Zillow or whether it's other online platforms that are coming in, or whether I'm going to focus on past clients. Sometimes that gets done in the morning. Sometimes I end up, because it is a little after 8, I ended up already with lots of texts and emails and stuff I have to deal with. So at some point during the day, I am making calls. I am not that one who's going to lock himself in the office from 8:30 to 11. Do that every day, and sometimes it's at night. Sometimes it's in the late afternoon. Sometimes it's on the way to different appointments. So I try to keep it flexible. For some people, they can't deal with that. They have to have a very set schedule and a very structured schedule. I love being able to kind of create my schedule that I want to do each day. But I think the most important thing is that I do some lead generation every single day in some way, shape, or form. We are definitely moving forward every day. So I would say a good goal for anybody would be can you talk to 10 people about real estate every day? If you could talk to 10 people, who do you know wants to buy or sell a house every day, then you're going to see your business grow forward, and not just talk to them, but also track it. I have some contact sheets that I use, and it helps me remember who I've spoken to, and I stick them in a notebook. And if I'm not sure who to call that day, I can always go back through the notebook of people I talked to 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and go back and re-verify those people and follow up with those folks. So that is kind of that is what I do as far as from lead generation. And the other thing I would tell you guys, pay attention to workplace. Like seriously, pay attention to the workplace referral groups. I mean, like literally 3 or 4 minutes or 5 minutes before our conversation started, I just got another one for a listing in our area through the ICON referral network. But also the regular referral. I think I've closed like $2 million in production just from referrals from other EXP agents, and I have another 600,000 or 700,000 under contract right now from referrals from other EXP agents around the country. So definitely that is a great lead generation source, is making sure you're staying on top of the EXP referral network on workplace. So.
Yeah, that's good. I definitely, I've heard of a lot of people getting stuff from that workplace, so definitely stay on it. Let's talk about current clients and where, let's talk about right now. Just tell us a little bit about where'd your last 5 clients or your 5 current clients under contract come from, and where do you see yourself getting your next 5 clients after that? Let's start with you, Jeff Dickinson.
Yeah, so boy, business has been just really crazy this year. I've got 31 clients under contract right at the moment, so I think more than I've ever had in my career at any one time. And it's really a combination of my database and my corporate employees. And my next 5 are going to come from that same source.
Very good. Go to Jeff Arzona. Go same question. Your current 5 or last 5 under contract and your next 5 clients. What do those sources look like for you?
So I had looked that up when you had sent that over. I love tracking that type of information. So my last 5, I've got 1 past client referral. I've got 1 SOI. I've got 2 Zillows, and then 1 pay-per-click, which is kind of what we're seeing as our breakdown. Our Zillow leads last year was 1/3 of all of our business that we've done. We have seen a huge uptick in our past client referrals this year, as you guys kind of hit on right when we got started. We're about 1 year into some marketing and some, we're doing monthly mailers and just some different things that we had really dropped the ball on in the past. So we are hoping to see the shift that can maybe push, and that our SOI and past clients can get up to about 50% of our business. We would love that. A little cheaper than generating some of these online leads. But I think for now, expectation's going to be at least in the next 5, probably 1 to 2 more Zillows, 1 pay-per-click, 1 SOI, and 1 past client referral.
So in your pay-per-click, that's is that Google?
Yeah, we're using, again, through our CRM. So we use Firepoint for our team CRM. KV Core has the exact same option in terms of some pay-per-clicks that they can generate for you. They definitely close at a much lower percentage rate, but they're much cheaper in order to, you can acquire a lot more of those for a lot less dollars.
Okay, perfect. And then Jamie, tell us a little bit about you, your last 5 clients, your next 5 clients. Where's all that business coming from?
Sure. So I've got some sphere of influence. So I just did a commercial lease, which I don't do a lot of commercial, but I just help someone lease a space in a shopping center. I've got a referral from another Icon agent, helping her brother sell his house. That one's under contract right now. I've got a past client that is going through a breakup, that I've got their house listed and under contract. We've got another sphere of influence, and then one other past client referral. Not a past client, but their cousin is moving into our area. So that's probably my last 5 right now. And I just got one from a sign call from a listing I had like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I've been keeping up with her, and we just went under contract yesterday, or the day before on a property. So as far as moving forward, sphere of influence, we just had one go under contract, or about to go under contract here in just a minute. So that's a sphere of influence. That was so when I have someone Zillow, I have one with Zillow that just went under contract. I have several other taking another client out from Zillow this afternoon. So I would say between sphere of influence, Zillow, and past client referrals, and then EXP, your workplace referrals. Like I said, I just got one right before we got on stage that I'll be working on once we're done. So that is, kind of where I think my next 5 will be coming from.
That's great. Now, and Jeff Dickinson will know a little bit about this, but in Washington State, we had a change this year, or was it last year? I can't remember. But they changed kind of a little bit of our commission structure a little bit in this state, and we had to now. I found it that I had to show buyers our value. Like we always showed sellers the value of working with me, but buyers, I never really focused on value. So in today's world, with information's available to everybody, they can look up and see the property history just as easy as we can. And, and the competing free discount or don't use an agent options that everybody's seeing available across the country. How do you guys show your value of using you as a realtor? What's your value proposition? Or just tell us a little bit about how you show value. Jeff Dickinson, I want to start with you because you're kind of in my market. I know that we kind of went through a bit of everybody was scared about this change. I haven't seen much from it, but tell me a little bit about how you show value.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, David, that, I didn't see much change either in last year's, scare or whatever else. So kind of interesting, with our shareholders meeting that just passed. I was on a number of ICON the video panels or whatever they're called, Zoom panels, and one of them was being a rock star real estate agent or buyer's agent, and so it really got me thinking. What is my value proposition? So I put together like a 3-page report on that. If anybody wants it, just ping me through Workplace or whatever. I'd be happy to send it out to you. But it really made me take inventory of what is my value proposition. So I've got a pretty extensive construction background. I built 17 resort communities from Whistler to the Napa Valley and into Arizona. So that's a big part of my value when I'm out meeting with clients. And two is I meet all my clients at Starbucks if I can. I never go out to the house to meet them for the first time. I always have a 45-minute orientation so that we can start that relationship. And I think the relationship is the basis of establishing value versus being the key holder to getting that person in the door. I think education is huge. Most as I say, I'm getting older and my clients are getting younger, but the generation will just say X, Y, and Z. They do have incredible technology, but what they're missing is really someone human holding their hand through the home buying process. And I think that's where a big part of our value comes in. So those are just a couple of things that come to mind.
Very good. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. I do a buyer's consultation with every buyer. Agents on my team, they're required to do that if we can. We ask 3 times and then we'll go show them one house. But if they don't want to do the buyer's consult after that, we found that the numbers just don't support it if we don't do that, and also the issues that arise later throughout the transaction for them not being educated. Exactly. Not having that conversation and building that trust of us being their trusted advisor, they just go sideways. So that's good. I like that you do that. Let's move over to you, Jamie. Tell me a little bit about, or tell us a little bit about what you do. What's your value proposition when you're working with people?
Well, the value proposition is that we oftentimes know properties that are not available, like on MLS. So, when on a buyer side, sometimes you're competing. I find most of the time you're not necessarily competing with other agents like you would on a listing per se. Usually if they've reached out to you on Zillow or something like that, they usually don't have a buyer's agent, or they, or if you get a referral from somebody, that they're usually just with you. It's not, very few buyers are actually interviewing their agent, at least in my experience, to see who is going to represent them. So, I think looking at, from our value is, hey, because I don't just work with buyers, I know I'll have properties in my pipeline that are not even on the market yet, and I can connect them with those sellers who may not want to be on the market, who may be okay if they just had a good offer to start with and not have to mess with the whole putting it on the market and showing their home and stuff like that. So I think our proposition is that, and also, making sure, that we're letting them know that we have everything that they need to make the transaction smooth, from whether it's lenders. And by the way, speaking of lenders, if you guys are not using the intro lend program that EXP offers, you guys need to do that. It creates another touch point. So when you are talking, especially online leads, I'm automatically following them in through IntroLend, and not only do I touch them, but then people from IntroLend touch them, and we're getting a much higher conversion rate on these leads that are coming in, as far as actually applying and actually getting pre-approvals, because a lot of times online leads are not already approved. They're just starting the process. So by being able to funnel it in and having a second touch is really helping me. I'm seeing a greater conversion rate on that. In fact, the lady I'm taking out today is approved with IntroLend, and I actually got her set up while I was talking to her on the phone. So literally I was on the phone with her and inputting her information on IntroLend as she was speaking and getting that process rolling. So I think being able to, that's another value proposition on our part, where, if they've not already gotten through that pre-approval process, IntroLend does a soft pull on their credit, which does not hurt their credit. So people are much more willing to go ahead and apply for their loan right there on the spot while you're talking to them on the phone or when you get off, as opposed to if you sent them to someone else who's going to do a hard pull, which will affect their credit. So just being able to show them that we have the tools to make this transaction easier. A lot of times people think it's harder. Buying a house is harder than it actually is. And yes, it is there are a lot of moving pieces to it, but we need to let them know that, we're going to hold their hand the whole time and make it as painless of a process for them and get them the best deal on the property that they're looking for.
Awesome. Let's go on to you, Jeff Arzonico. Tell us a little bit. You have a team, so same question, but tell me, do you try to have the same value proposition across everybody? And then how do you hold those clients when there's so much information and so much it's so easy for a lot of people to jump ship, and how do you work that in with yourself and the team?
So, kind of stealing off what these guys said, they hit on a lot of the big stuff. The number one thing we talk about, and we're a little different because we are prospecting to online leads and we are prospecting to a lot of outside of our state, is truly being market experts and being able to speak very strongly and very intelligently to our broad market. Shifting that, we preach relationships, and that is a big thing. We try to go away from sales and pitching and closing and converting. I talk a lot about with my team, I'm not looking for you to set an appointment the first time you talk to these guys if they're living in New York. I'm looking for you to build great rapport with them so that anytime they think real estate in the Lake Norman market, they think your name. So we spend a lot of time trying to take a lot of our early conversations away from the real estate and just more into lifestyle and what they're looking for and what do they want. We have a lake that's got 528 miles of shoreline, and the east side of the lake is built up in restaurants and shopping and everything going on, and the west side of the lake is much more rural, a little bit more acreage, a lot more elbow room and space. We've got to figure out what each buyer's looking for, and we've really seen that having some of those types of conversations early on converts them as clients for us in the long run. Then once we kind of get to the point that we are in person with them, we really lean hard on the team aspect. We have a team that's not only the agent, we have a transaction coordinator who is a fully licensed agent in our state. So you really have two agents that come on board with you. We've got two preferred lenders. We've got two preferred inspectors. We have one closing attorney. We have our own dedicated paralegal at the attorney's office. We make this process so much smoother for our client going through because of the relationships and the time we've spent building with our vendor partners. Just makes the transaction so much easier on the client.
That's great. That's great. And that kind of leads into a little bit of the next question I have asked or I have here is, do you have processes, procedures, policy? Like, do you have, do you do the same thing every time? I kind of touched on this myself. Like we do a buyer's consult. If they're not going to do it, we have, okay, we'll do it if we can tell they're qualified and they just really want to look at this one house and they're not working with an agent. We'll go show them that. So we have some deviation from it, but in reality, we have checklists and things that we do. It's pretty much the same thing every time. It works and you end up not wasting time. Do you guys have things like that and share with us kind of how those look and in your business. Let's Jeff, you kind of talked about that, so let's go with Jeff Dickinson.
Yeah. So, on the buyers, I do about 50-50 listing and buyer representation. So I definitely have a buyer's checklist. As David mentioned, there is a little bit of deviation. I think one of the biggest things is, am I going to go out and show a client if I don't have their pre-approval in hand? For me, I take that chance once. I'll be, because I want to form a relationship with this person. If the input that I'm getting in my conversation with them over the phone, if I know that they're working for Microsoft or a reputable company, then I'm making that value decision that they can probably go out and buy a home. So I'll take that chance. I run across agents all the time that say, man, I just don't take them to see a home, or I don't meet them unless they have that pre-approval. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see out there. I'll get burned, but it's extremely rare that happens. Same thing on the listing side. I have a checklist, and just go down that. I try to systematize it as much as possible. Being a single agent, you have to systematize it. You're kind of the jack of all trades, so definitely you definitely have to have a process in mind there.
Very good. Yeah, we do some of that now. I would do the same as you. If they work for a company, or it's really when you're talking to them, you can kind of find out if they're going to be qualified or not. And I try to teach my team that, and so that's where we allow to deviate a little bit off of it. But we try to, once we've met, make sure that that's right. And they show up, they say they do something, and they show up and their car's barely working or something like that. We might go, okay, let's get a pre-approval before we really start showing these people too many houses and taking half of our day 3 or 4 times. So Jamie, what do tell us a little bit about what you do in regards to that.
Yeah, so I kind of do a hybrid system, I would say. I've got to the point, if I feel good about them when I'm talking to them on the phone, and we're speaking, primarily online leads or your people that are coming to you, from that direction, I actually will go through a quick, feel comfortable, and I feel like it's worth an extra 5 minutes with them. I will go ahead and kind of, I don't want to say pre-qualify them, but I will kind of run through the numbers with them. Like, what is your credit score? How much money do you make? And then what kind of debts do you have? Car payment, student loan payment, etc. And I can pretty much, before I ever go out with them, assuming they're telling me the truth, there is a big assumption there that they're telling you the truth. You have to use a gut that they're telling you the truth. That a lot of times I can already kind of know what they're going to qualify for and whether it's worth going out and showing that particular home, especially if it's close. And in Atlanta, Zillow, I put it in the chat box, Zillow has gone to a different system called a flex system. So when you do get a Zillow lead, Zillow does expect you to go and show them a house, whether they're qualified or not. So, and some of those are close, some of them are not. So before I'm willing to spend my time, I am making sure that I've done a little bit of homework on the front end with them. So that is something I've kind of switched over to start doing now. And then of course the intro loan program is definitely helping with that. As far as the formal buyer consultation, I'll be honest with you, I've never done in 13 years of a formal like sit down like what you guys are talking about. I've just gotten through some coaching training on that. And so I am going to find a way to start implementing some of that implementing that system into my business, because I feel that it will greatly increase my efficiency. So that is something that is a work in progress. I've always just kind of saw somebody in the public chat, they kind of roll the dice. For the most part, I've done pretty well with that. Do you get burnt every now and then? Absolutely. But it's, I win more than I get burnt. And if I am going to show a property to somebody, I always bring, and I don't have a buyer or brokerage agreement, I'll usually show them one or two, especially if they're in a small area. And then, at the end of the showing, I was like, hey, I enjoyed working with you. I think we're a great fit for each other. My broker does require that, for us to work with you. He usually wants us ahead of time, but I made an exception for you to go show you these properties. And, I would love to, we really need to get this signed to continue moving forward in the process. And, I would say 90%, 95% of the time, I get a signature right there on the spot, in my car. So, when we're done with the showing. So that's kind of how I've run it. It's been, for the most part, it's been pretty smooth.
Very good. The next question. Let's talk about any out of the box ideas that you've used in your career, or maybe tell us about a time that an out of the box idea made a transaction go through or close. We get compartmentalized, right, in real estate, and they're like, you stay in your lane or stay in real estate transactions go this way, and you can't step out of it or get creative, and some laws really do restrict us. But tell us about a time that maybe getting outside of that constrictive box really made something work or has really excelled your business. Let's start with Jeff Arzonico.
So, I think we have to be outside the box every day in this world. If you're not going to be outside the box, I guess when someone would say, hey, what's the difference between the agent that sells, 10, 12, 15 houses a year and the agent who sells 40 houses a year? I think a lot of it is outside the box thinking. I pride myself that my team, when they get stumped, I'm always the first phone call. And it's, again, our job, every transaction's different, but it's fun to sit down and say, all right, let's figure out how we put this together. We talk a lot in our training with our team about stop trying to win. So many agents think that this is a win-lose situation and that one side's going to win and one side's going to lose. Let's start figuring out how to make it a little bit more of a win-win transaction. If you have a buyer who wants to buy it and a seller who wants to sell it, let's figure out how to bring these two together. One that we did this year, we've got a program here in our area called Ribbon. They're coming in and helping buyers buy properties when they would be contingent on the sale of their property. They will turn it into a cash transaction. They'll carry that home for the buyer for up to 6 months. Buyer pays rent on that home while it's going through. We received an offer it was a contingent offer. These guys just weren't comfortable carrying both sides. My sellers had not found where they wanted to go. Really went back, pitched this idea, said, hey, why don't we use Ribbon? My guys will pay the rent that Ribbon's asking, and that way we go ahead and close this transaction in 21 days on a cash deal. Your buyers know that they're going to get the home they want. My sellers have cash in hand, actually will allow them to make better offers moving forward. It was a fantastic thing. Ribbon, of course, calls me and goes, we don't do that. We don't allow sellers to stay. And I said, well, why not? I said, you need the rent to be paid. My guys signed an addendum saying that they would pay the rent for up to the 6 months if needed. We closed the transaction. My guys had cash in hand. We went and made more aggressive offers. They were buying like double the price point of what they were selling. So it put them in a really good position in our market to be able to go in there, not contingent, not needing to sell a home. And it ended up being a win-win for all sides.
Yeah, Jeff, I like that. Making it a win-win for everybody. It's not a win-loss. Sometimes you get stuck in those where some of you're like, a commercial deal I was working on yesterday, and it kind of went weird. It was like a win-loss thing. We just, negotiating between a rock and a hard place at that point. And but making it a win-win and, having people cooperate and bringing everybody together. I really like that. We only got a couple minutes left here. So let's real quick, just Jeff Dickinson, you've been in this industry for quite some time. And tell us about some out of the box idea, or maybe one out of the box idea that maybe worked for you at one point.
Yeah, I think there's many actually, but one of the things that perplexes me is down payment assistance. As buyer agents, if you're working luxury, the luxury market, that's one thing. But if you're working a variety of clients, it amazes me how many agents are not aware of the down payment assistance available in their area. Every state has a down payment assistance program. I'll bet in our market, David, there's not more than 20% of agents that even know that it exists. And I probably save a transaction a month using the down payment assistance. In our market, it's 4% for down payment and closing costs. So it's a huge thing. It saves so many of my clients. My average transaction is about 600,000, but I also, I'll also assist those that are, doing a $200,000 transaction, and it all adds up on the scoreboard. So, be sure to check out your local area. A lot of cities, certainly the states have the down payment assistance program. So, there you go.
Yeah, I love that. Down payment assistance has been good for my business. Every once in a while you run into somebody. I've had to change from standard financing to down payment assistance, and how you can use it. So learn, like I know in our state, and also the lenders. Some lenders have their own down payment assistance that sometimes the fees or the rise in rate isn't as much, and then knowing the different programs. I mean, I'm a veteran myself, and just knowing the VA program myself, but I'm amazed how many people out there, especially in my area with as many military bases as we have around, they don't know the VA buy-in program. They just don't know the details of it. But it's there's not that many hiccups with it, so it's pretty easy to learn. So, Jamie, we're just getting out of time, so just tell us a real quick thing about how an out-of-the-box idea has worked for you.
I think we're going to just kind of stick with more of the lending. You guys need to know and have multiple sources for your loans. Every bank has their own little different affinity programs, and every loan officer typically, of course, everybody could do the FHA conventional. Everybody has that. But what do specific loan officers have that maybe other people don't have? So the people that I choose to work with are the ones who have that something special that beyond the FHA and conventional. And so, I can say that we've honestly closed a lot more deals just because I know about those things. I know who to send them to. I think there was one a couple of years ago that we ended up going through 3 or 4 lenders, but finally the 4th lender was able to get it done, and nobody else was able to get it done. It was brand new construction. The builders lenders couldn't get it done. Our lender could get it done. They went through every builder's lender, and then they finally agreed to use our lender, and then he was able to get it done. It closed late, but we still got it done. So, I think it's just really making sure that you know everything that's available. You need to have so many tools on your tool belt to be able to help your folks, your buyers, and your sellers, because it could be on the other side too, where I've helped the buyer for one of my listings. I've known about those resources that their agent didn't know about, and I was able to get them in touch with one of those resources and still complete the deal. So just make sure you know everything that's out there that's available.
Yeah, that was one mistake I made. Is about four years ago, I tried to team up with one lender, and I thought it was a great idea. And one lender, I'm going to feed them so much business, and it's really going to work out. And that relationship fizzled. And there were also some things that they couldn't do. And then I had to reach out to people blindly in a way and try and work with these other lenders. So I've changed to the model of I have 4 lenders, and that really isn't anything that I've found that those 4 can't do. They're all a little bit different, and I found that works really, really well. So I like that advice, Jamie, a lot. So that wraps it up. Thank you, Jeff, Jamie, and Jeff. Great information today. I did see somebody was asking about ribbon in there. So Jeff, if you could just type in a little info or maybe a link to that in the chat. But thanks for hanging out with us today. All of us are available on Workplace. Shoot us a chat, shoot us an email, reach out to us if you have questions on anything we talked about today, and go out there and do well. Have a great day.
Hey, David.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, David. You did a great job, bud.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.